It was never meant to be found. For 6,000 years it remained buried, sealed beneath the shifting sands, locked away from time itself. Until now, a team of archaeologists drills through a forgotten Sumerian ruin, deep in the Iraqi desert. This site doesn't exist on any map. No historical records mention it. Then the first anomaly. Their equipment malfunctions. Clocks desynchronize. A low-frequency hum pulses beneath the ground, undetectable, yet impossible to ignore. Then the discovery. A hidden chamber. The entrance isn't carved, it's fused, like stone melted under impossible heat. No known tool or fire could have done this. As they break the seal, a shockwave ripples through the air. Every electronic device dies at once. The sand outside shifts like something is moving beneath it. And then the impossible. A footprint. Embedded in solid rock. Not fossilized. Not etched. A perfect, undisturbed human footprint. But it's too large. The proportions are wrong. The shape is off. Then the symbols. Unlike any Sumerian script, they shift under light, rearrange themselves when no one is looking. And then the whisper. No one speaks. No wind blows. But the sound is there, inside their heads, crawling through their skulls. One of the workers gasps. His pupils dilate. His breath turns shallow. Then his lips move. But it's not his voice. The others step back as his body stiffens, his head tilting unnaturally. His throat vibrates with something old. Then, in a voice that does not belong to him, he speaks. They were never gods, they were just waiting. Then the ground cracks. And the screaming begins. The footage is gone. The cameras? Wiped. The excavation site? Sealed under military orders. Official reports state nothing was found. But the whispers have already begun. Dr. Evelyn Carter sits alone in her office, staring at the only remaining fragment of footage left on her laptop. The file is corrupt, distorted, overwritten with static. But something remains. A single frozen frame before the footage cuts to black. The footprint. Not fossilized. Not etched. A perfect imprint embedded in solid rock. She cross-references the measurements against every recorded civilization. No match. No human species aligns with its dimensions. It shouldn't exist. Then another anomaly. The symbols on the chamber wall. Ancient. Yet unlike any known Sumerian script. Patterns too precise. The spacing too methodical. It's not a language. It's a sequence. A code. Her hands tremble as she runs the symbols through decryption software. The results make no sense. Some characters repeat at intervals matching the Fibonacci sequence. Others follow stellar alignments last seen over 10,000 years ago. Then her inbox blinks. An email.
No sender.
No traceable origin. Just one subject line. You're looking in the wrong place. Attached is a single image. A scan from a long-buried Vatican manuscript, one erased from historical records. She enlarges the image. Her stomach tightens. The same footprint. The same symbols. But the manuscript is over 1,000 years old. It shouldn't contain something discovered last week. A deep chill settles over her as she deciphers the text beneath the image. The ink is faded, smudged, but the message is clear. When the sky fractures, the first ones will awaken. She leans back, her breath shaky. Then her screen glitches. The text shifts on its own. New words appear. Words she didn't translate. You were never alone. Her laptop shuts down. Then silence. Too much silence. The lights flicker. Then from the hallway outside, a sound. A slow, deliberate knocking. 3 knocks. Precise. Rhythmic. She doesn't move. The knocks continue. Closer now. Her phone vibrates violently on the desk. No caller ID. She stares at the screen, pulse hammering in her ears. The knocking stops. Then the doorknob turns. The call connects. A voice she doesn't recognize. Distorted. Layered. You shouldn't have seen it. The line goes dead. Then her screen turns back on just for a second. And on it, a single image. Her own office. A live feed. From inside the room. And behind her something moves. The door didn't open. Not yet. Dr. Evelyn Carter sat frozen, her breath shallow. The screen in front of her flickered once, then went black. The live feed was gone. Her office was empty. Or at least it should have been. The only sound was the faint buzz of a dying fluorescent bulb. Then, the knocking returned. 3 slow, deliberate taps. And then a whisper muffled coming from somewhere behind her. But she was alone. She grabbed her phone, hands shaking, and hit record. The knock stopped. Silence. A new email appeared on her screen.
No sender.
No subject. Just one line of text. Forget what you saw. Attached was a single file. A heavily redacted government document, its contents almost unreadable, except for one paragraph. The anomaly has been classified under redacted. Historical records have been adjusted. Remaining eyewitnesses will be processed. Processed? She scrolled further. More blacked out lines. More missing data. And then, a single name. Hers. Her heart pounded. This wasn't a warning. It was a list. She wasn't reading a classified file. She was inside it. She stood up so fast her chair tipped over. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. She needed to leave. She grabbed her keys. The hallway outside was empty. Too empty. Her office was on the 15th floor. But the moment she stepped into the hallway, she heard footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Coming from the floor above. That was impossible. There was no floor above. Then her phone vibrated. No caller ID. A voice whispered through the speaker. Layered. Distorted. Inhuman. Stay where you are. Then the line went dead. The hallway lights flickered once. Then twice. Then darkness. A door slammed shut somewhere behind her. Then another. And another. She ran. Down the hall, past the emergency exit, toward the elevator. She jabbed the button. The doors slid open. She stepped inside. The moment they closed, her phone vibrated again. Another message. You can't run from something that never left. She turned. The elevator panel showed a new button that wasn't there before. It was unmarked. It was glowing. The elevator began to move. But not down. And not up. Then the walls shifted. The reflection in the elevator mirror wasn't hers. The last thing she heard before the doors opened was the sound of her own voice, whispering from the other side. The elevator doors never should have opened. Not here. Not to this. Dr. Evelyn Carter didn't move. Her breath shallow, her heartbeat slamming against her ribs. The hallway before her wasn't her building. The air smelled wrong, sterile, metallic, too clean. No people. No sound. Just a long, dim corridor, and something waiting at the far end. A black monolith. It pulsed faintly like it was alive. Her phone vibrated violently in her pocket. No caller ID. One message. Don't move. It sees movement. A whisper right behind her. She spun, but she was alone. No, not alone. The mirror inside the elevator reflected her. But her reflection wasn't facing forward. It was turned toward the monolith. Staring at it. Watching. Then the lights shut off. Darkness swallowed everything. And in that void she heard it. A heartbeat. Not hers. Not human. Somewhere thousands of miles away, inside a classified genetics lab. Another anomaly was unfolding. Dr. Adrian Holloway stared at the blood sample under his microscope. His hands trembled as he zoomed in further, adjusting the lens. The sample belonged to an excavation worker, one of the men who had entered the Sumerian chamber. At first, everything had seemed normal, human. Then it moved. The cells shifted, reacting, responding to something unseen. They weren't just mutating. They were remembering. A pattern emerged, forming something terrifyingly precise. Sumerian symbols. They weren't just written on the temple walls. They were embedded in the DNA. A language. A message. Dr. Holloway's breath came fast. This wasn't evolution. It was a return. He scrambled to check the patient's vitals, but the screen flickered. A new heart rate appeared. 2 pulses. One human. The other something else. Dr. Carter's vision blurred. She tried to move, but her body refused. Her reflection in the elevator mirror was still facing the monolith, its head tilted, listening. Then, it turned to face her. But she hadn't moved. Her chest tightened. Something inside her shifted. A whisper inside her skull. Not her thoughts. Not her voice. You were never one of them. Her hands weren't her own anymore. And somewhere in a hidden lab, As Dr. Holloway stared in horror at the sample under his microscope, it blinked. The blood cell. The DNA. It blinked. And it was watching him. The blood sample was looking at him. Dr. Adrian Holloway blinked. His fingers trembled as he adjusted the microscope lens, convinced his mind was playing tricks. But no, the cell was still moving. It shifted, pulsed, expanded. Not random, deliberate, like it was aware. And then, it split. Not like normal cell division. This was different. Instantaneous. Perfect. Controlled. A pattern emerged. Sumerian symbols formed inside the strands of DNA, rearranging themselves into something horrifyingly precise. A sentence. A command. A sound escaped his throat. A half-scream, half-choke. His body recoiled as if struck. Because the symbols weren't written for him. They were watching him. And then they changed. They mirrored his own name. His legs nearly gave out. His breath hitched. This wasn't a discovery. It was a message. A message from something that wasn't supposed to exist. And then the power cut out. The lab went black. A deep, electric hum vibrated through the floor. The computers rebooted, but they weren't displaying code anymore. Just one phrase repeating in every language known to man. We are awake. Then alarms. Screaming. Security sirens blared. He turned toward the observation window, where his team had been monitoring the test subject, the excavation worker whose blood he had just analyzed. The worker was standing, but the restraints were still on the chair. Still locked. He hadn't stood up. He had shifted through them. His head tilted unnaturally. His pupils had vanished. His mouth twitched like he was trying to form words. And then he spoke. Not a voice. A vibration. The glass cracked. Not from force. From frequency. Dr. Holloway stumbled back as the symbols on his screen burned into his vision. His nose started bleeding. The pressure in his skull was unbearable. The worker's jaw snapped open too wide, dislocating with an inhuman pop. And then he whispered. We were never gone. Miles away in a darkened elevator that no longer moved, Dr. Evelyn Carter clutched her head. The whisper inside her skull was growing louder. Not words. Not thoughts. A command. Her fingers twitched. Her arms tensed. Her body was responding to something she couldn't fight. The monolith in front of her pulsed. It knew. Her reflection in the mirror wasn't hers anymore. And then, she smiled. But she hadn't. The elevator doors slid open. A corridor stretched before her, too dark, too long, shifting like something alive. And at the very end of it, something was waiting. Something that had been waiting for a very, very long time. The sky changed. No one noticed at first. Astronomers saw an anomaly. A slight distortion, barely detectable. A fraction of a shift. Then the reports began. Birds flying in circles, disoriented. Compass needles spinning erratically. Radio frequencies breaking into static, whispering in unknown tones. Then the blackout. A worldwide observatory shut down. Telescopes went offline. Live feeds corrupted. NASA's deep space monitors detected something. Not an asteroid. Not a comet. Not a planet. Something moving. A transmission cut through the noise, scrambled, broken, but one word translated clearly. Arrival. Dr. Evelyn Carter stood at the threshold of something impossible. The corridor beyond the elevator pulsed, shifting as if alive. She should have run. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to move, to fight, to resist. But she couldn't. Because the voice inside her skull wasn't letting her. The monolith at the end of the corridor vibrated, low, pulsing deep within her bones. The whisper returned. Not in her ears. Inside her. You were never meant to see this. Her feet moved forward. Not by choice. A screen flickered to life on the wall beside her. A news broadcast, distorted but clear enough. Something had entered the solar system. Not detected. Revealed. As if it had always been there, hidden until now. And then a new image. Something captured in a classified military satellite feed before it went dark. Dr. Carter's breath hitched. It wasn't an object. It was a structure. A monolithic shape, identical to the one standing before her now. Too large. Too symmetrical. It wasn't moving toward Earth. It was already here. Waiting. And now it was waking up. The lights flickered. The corridor twisted. Then the monolith shifted. And Evelyn Carter forgot how to scream. The sky was wrong. Not dark. Not stormy. Just wrong. Somewhere in the Arctic, a satellite technician stared at his screen, hands trembling. The feed was looping. But not like a glitch. The stars, they weren't in the right places. The constellation patterns had changed. Realigned. But that was impossible. Unless something was moving the sky itself. Then, the final transmission before the observatory feeds cut to black. One line. It was never a planet. Dr. Evelyn Carter's body refused to move. The monolith pulsed. The walls around her stretched, flickering between reality and something else. Then her reflection changed. Not just her posture. Not just her face. Her eyes. They were black. A low vibration crawled through her skull. The whisper returned. Not a voice. Not a thought. A command. Step forward. Her feet moved against her will. The corridor twisted around her, shifting like something alive. Then, at the very end of the passage, a second monolith emerged. This one was open. A doorway. Through it, a sky that wasn't Earth's. A city. Towering. Pulsing. Alive. And then she saw them. Not statues. Not relics. Figures. Moving. Watching. Their eyes opened at once. Something had called them. Something she had awakened. Then the voice inside her mind shifted. It wasn't speaking anymore. It was listening. And it was waiting for her answer. The sky wasn't breaking. It was peeling away. Like a thin layer of reality was being torn off, exposing something behind it. At the Mount Graham Observatory, a team of scientists stood frozen, eyes locked on the data stream. All sky mapping telescopes had just gone offline. Not due to failure. Something was overriding them. Then an alert. A single deep space image remained. A colossal structure. But it wasn't new. It wasn't approaching. It had always been there. Hidden. Cloaked. Now, for the first time in human history, it was revealing itself. Then silence. And finally a word. Not a signal. A response. One translated phrase echoed across every radio frequency. They never left. Dr. Evelyn Carter stood frozen. The corridor around her was warping. The monolith pulsed, shifting as if it were breathing. Then her reflection changed. She wasn't moving. But the version of her in the mirror was. Slowly it raised its hand. Not in greeting. In recognition. The whisper returned, vibrating through her skull. Not speech. Not sound. A command. Step forward. Her body moved on its own. Her foot crossed the threshold. And the corridor vanished. No walls. No floor. Just endless black. No. Not black. Space. A massive city stretched before her. Floating, pulsing, impossibly ancient. The architecture not human. And then she saw them. Not statues. Not relics. Figures. Moving. Watching. Towering beings. Silent. Unshaken. Aware. A deep hum vibrated through the void. Not in sound but in thought. An exchange. A presence. Something had called them. Something she had awakened. Then the whisper inside her head shifted. It wasn't speaking anymore. It was listening. And it was waiting for her answer. Then the monolith pulsed once more. Her vision blurred. Her body locked in place. Her reflection in the void. It wasn't human anymore. Then, everything went dark. The world had changed overnight. Skies flickered like static on a dying screen. The air felt charged, too heavy, too aware. And then the signal came. A forgotten radio frequency, unused for centuries, suddenly came to life. No source. No origin. Just a voice. Distorted. Layered. Ancient. Across the world, old televisions, radios, even digital billboards flickered. Screens flashed symbols, not words but equations. A message buried in time now forcing its way back. A transmission not from the future but from the past. And then the translation appeared. We were the first. We were betrayed. We have returned. Dr. Evelyn Carter woke up gasping. She wasn't in the corridor anymore. She wasn't in the elevator. She was somewhere else. The floating city stretched endlessly before her. Silent. Impossible. But the monoliths were gone. Instead, figures. Tall. Silent. Watching. A row of them standing in eerie symmetry. Not human, not statues, but something else entirely. She couldn't breathe. Not because of fear. Because the air wasn't meant for her. Her body felt foreign, her limbs heavier. Something deep inside her was changing. She turned or tried to. But her movements weren't her own anymore. Then one of them moved. A single step forward. No mouth. No expression. Just a presence. And then a sound. Not heard. Felt. A vibration inside her skull, crawling through her mind like an ancient whisper. You are not the first. Her vision flickered. Images. Flashes of history that never existed. A civilization far older than Sumer. Cities of impossible architecture. Skies not from Earth. And then fire. Destruction. A war. A betrayal. Something had wiped them out. Not time. Not nature. Something else. She was seeing their memories. Then a final image. A ruined world. Not ancient. Not forgotten. A world that looked exactly like Earth. But it wasn't Earth. It was before Earth. Her body tensed. Her pulse slowed. A final whisper crawled through her mind. You were never the originals. Her reflection in the glass city walls wasn't her anymore. The transmission wasn't a warning. It was a reminder. Then the ground trembled. And the figures began to move. The hum didn't stop. It never stopped. Dr. Evelyn Carter's body felt like it was trapped in someone else's skin. The air around her was heavy, as though the walls themselves were breathing. Her reflection in the glass walls of the lab wasn't hers anymore. It was warped, distorted. The city outside the lab, the one that stretched across the vast horizon, was alive. Moving, pulsing with energy. The shapes in the sky weren't stars anymore. They were watching. And inside her head the voice returned. You were never meant to find this. She tried to scream, but the air sucked her breath away. The room closed in around her, the walls bending like liquid. The glow of the monitors intensified, casting harsh light across her face, making everything seem unreal. Her fingers twitched. Not by choice. She tried to stop herself, but it was as if the very air she breathed was controlling her. The glowing symbols from the Sumerian tablet she had studied earlier were now all over the room. They weren't just on the screen. They were on the walls, on the floor surrounding her. They were in her blood. And then, without warning, the transformation began. Her heart slowed. Her body stiffened. She felt a sharp pain, something deep within her spine, as if her bones were realigning. Her vision blurred. And the once comforting hum of technology was replaced by something else, something ancient. The monolith from the city, now visible through the lab's vast windows, began to pulse in rhythm with her heart. The vibrations mimicked the same frequency she had felt on the ancient tablet, but now they were alive. And then she realized, it wasn't the city that was awakening. It was her. Her hand trembled as she reached out, fingers touching the glowing symbols on the wall. She could feel them inside her, in her veins, in her thoughts. It wasn't just the city responding. It was the activation. Dr. Carter's breath caught in her throat as the final, horrifying truth unfolded. She wasn't just a researcher. She wasn't just a witness. She was the key. The energy in the lab began to amplify. The symbols on the screens weren't random anymore. They were changing her, rewriting her very DNA, merging her with something ancient, something alien. She was no longer human. She was part of something greater. The final transmission, the message from the past, flickered once on the screen. The chosen ones will return. The rest of you will remain forgotten. Her reflection in the glass was no longer a woman's face. It was something other. The last thing she saw before the screen went black was her own eyes, black as the void. And they were watching her. The world trembled. But this tremor wasn't felt by the earth alone. Dr. Evelyn Carter stood motionless in the heart of the lab, her entire body vibrating with a power she couldn't control. The monolith's pulse louder, deeper, fueled the air around her, bending reality itself. She felt it in her bones. Her DNA was unraveling, reconfiguring into something other. Her thoughts, once her own, were now being shaped by an unseen force. Her fingers twitched again against her will, reaching toward the screens that displayed the final message. You have awakened what should remain asleep. The voice, no longer a whisper, grew stronger, clearer, resonating in her skull like the beating of 1,000 drums. They are watching. They are waiting. She could feel the transformation happening inside her. Something ancient, something beyond human understanding was taking over. Her blood had become their blood. Her mind, once trapped in her own body, was now opening to infinite possibilities. Outside the lab, the city, no, the world was changing. The sky itself seemed to shift as if a curtain was being pulled back to reveal a world that wasn't meant for human eyes. Her reflection no longer looked like the woman she had been. It was something other. Her body felt like it was breaking apart, only to be reborn into something greater. Her chest tightened as if something was trying to burst free from within her. She stumbled backward, nearly falling, but the invisible force caught her. She was no longer in control. She was simply a vessel for what was awakening inside her. The walls of the lab pulsed with ancient symbols. The energy from the monolith in the distant city spread across the globe, rising, connecting, activating. It was everywhere now. No longer just a warning. It was a call to arms. Through the broken window of the lab she saw it, the city, towering, radiant, pulsating with energy. A city that had stood still for millennia, now finally awakening. And then she heard it. Not a voice, not a whisper, but a sound thunderous, deep, and ancient. It seemed to shake the very fabric of space. The city had opened its gates. The moment of return was upon her. A figure emerged from the monolith, its form shifting, unearthly, familiar. And for the first time, Dr. Carter realized she wasn't meant to observe this transformation. She was meant to become it. Her reflection stared back at her, eyes now fully black, filled with the same force that was consuming the world. The last thing she heard was the voice, no longer inside her head but outside, surrounding her. This is only the beginning. The ground shook beneath her feet. It wasn't the lab. It wasn't the city. It was the earth itself. Dr. Evelyn Carter felt her knees buckle, but she couldn't collapse. She couldn't fall. The monolith that had been pulsing, shifting with ancient energy, now rose from the earth like a living giant. Its surface cracked open, revealing an abyss of pure black void. Inside it something stirred. Something alive, something older than humanity itself. Her chest tightened as the voice whispered once more. "We've been waiting for you." She wasn't alone anymore. The city, no, the structure itself, had begun to respond to her. It was connected to her now, her every thought, every breath. Her transformation wasn't just physical. It was psychic. She could feel it in her skin, in the air, in her blood. She was becoming something new. And it was far from over. The monolith's pulse grew brighter, the dark void inside it stretching, invading the skies above. It was calling. But not to her alone. Thousands, millions of people across the world, in every corner, in every city, were hearing it, answering it. They had awakened. Dr. Carter stepped forward, unable to stop herself. Her reflection in the glass, in the darkness, no longer resembled a human being. She was changing. There was nothing human left inside her, not even a trace of the woman she used to be. Her mind, her body, they were shifting into something else. The activation was complete. The earth had responded. The sky itself had torn apart, fractured just like the ancient prophecy. And the monolith? It had no boundaries. It had reached into the stars and beyond, pulling something back, pulling them back. And then the first one appeared. A being of light. A shadow in the shape of something ancient, something alien, but something familiar. It stepped out of the monolith into the open air. Its form flickered and warped, appearing both as a shadow and a being of pure light. Its eyes were not eyes. They were portals. Portals to an infinite abyss. To a time before time. To a place beyond the stars. To a place not meant for humans. And then it spoke. Not in words but in thoughts. "You were always meant to be the bridge." Dr. Carter's heart raced as her surroundings bent and twisted. Everything was shifting now, becoming fluid, a fluid reality. And she wasn't just part of it anymore. She was becoming it. She could feel herself changing, splitting, becoming something other. Her thoughts were no longer hers. They were theirs. The alien beings inside the monolith had returned to claim their rightful place on Earth. And they were not alone. Her reflection faded from the glass, and in the distance the sky cracked once more. The monoliths, *** all over the world, Asterisk began to rise, revealing the truth. Humanity was never the origin. We were just the start.